Hey everybody, I believe I'm the only person in a unique position to make this commentary, owning a black-owned media business that focuses on Oakland, that started in Oakland, and covers Oakland so much that it'll never leave Oakland, period. I also have the blessing of being able to have a national perspective now and seeing what's not happening with respect to how black media is affected. And what I see isn't pretty. Specifically, hold on a second. I just want to share with you what I perceive as a major problem, a major one. And it has to do with black-owned media. I own 60% of the stock that represents Zenny 62 Media. We're a Delaware corporation in good standing, great standing. They paid our taxes and filed our annual report. And we're active, right? But the main problem, as I see it, in the Oakland context, is for the first time, black-owned media has played almost no role whatsoever, with the exception, frankly speaking, of my involvement and the occasional involvement of the Oakland Post, but the Oakland Post isn't as active as it used to be in terms of having, Paul Cobb out there as a commentator or anybody else. Then there's Charles Johnson has Soul Beat, but he's not such that he's produced a regularly scheduled, multi-weekly, let alone daily presence. And yet, and on top of that, I'll just say this straight out, Charles, I haven't heard from your partner. And you can't say you haven't heard from me, because I would say, hey, look, you're there. If you're somewhere, post a video. I'll put you on, and I did put you on Zenny 62 YouTube channel. I'll call it the Vlog Report with Zenny 62. You could easily promote the clubs you were at, restaurants, or Soulbeat, right? But you always wanted me to come there, even though I physically couldn't be there. Okay, so that's why I stopped, because you would ask me to come to these venues, and I was not even in town to be there, yet I would provide a technical way of getting the job done, right? And you wouldn't do it. And it still to this day boggles my mind why you would seek to treat me that way. It made no sense whatsoever. And I say that having said before, and I will say, you made one of the best video blogs of anyone ever who was a vlogger. I'm not saying was because I weren't let go or anything like that. It's just that you didn't do it, right? Other than that. But the one time you did the Coliseum JPA meeting, that was outstanding, man. Outstanding. And then you made a comment that you had to go and talk to the community about, I guess, vlogging on my channel. I'm thinking the community, like the black community, as in I'm not black, right? I mean, stuff like that I've had to deal with over the years. It just kind of makes you it's one of those things that Arsenio Hall would say, and then makes you go, right? Or both of all the candidates, and I really praise the mayoral candidates who have come on my show. Suze Robinson, Pastor Robinson, just had Pastor Anderson on Friday, District 2 race. Of course, Charlene Wang, Kanitha, and go on and on and on, right? But when it comes to the mayoral election, both Loren Taylor and Barbara Lee have not been on, and they know I'm here. And I reached out. I got a call from a representative from Barbara Lee's. They said, "Oh, they'll get back to you." And I mean, they literally treat me like I'm gumshoe, okay? And I'm not. So I thought, I'm going to talk about this. This is like now roughly inside of 10 days before the election, and the behavior is silly. And I was pleased that Suze Robinson thought enough about Zennia 62 Media to say, hey, can we do a program after the election that allows us to have a discussion? I said, great idea. I said, why don't you come on? Let's do one before the election. How about Tuesday? 7 o'clock Pacific, right? So it looks like that's going to happen. Well, it's going to. I already made the room. It's just a matter of people coming into the room. So the bottom line is that we as a people, as Black folks, first of all, do not support Black media anywhere near the level that other ethnic media gets supported by people who are from that corner of the earth, if you will. So there are Chinese newspapers, there's Latino newspapers or news platforms. There's Univision, but with us, we call on white media to do a job that we should be funding a Black media to do. If for no other reason that it provides jobs for the people who want to do the media who are Black, and money for those who want to own an organization, know how to start one, like myself. I know how to get the structure up. And that's happening less and less. You can see it. And I remember my first clue that there was a problem in a widespread way was when I was at the Black Journalist dinner. This was back in 2020 at the NFL Combine. And I introduced Zennia 62 Media. When it was my turn to speak, and I said, yeah, I'm working to raise $5 million, I believe it was, and this said I'm a long way from getting there and all that. And the person who came behind me said, yeah, I'm out there trying to raise the big bucks too, raising the big bucks too. And I thought all they focused on was that I was trying to raise several million, not the media structure, how it came to be, the lessons, that sort of thing, right? I didn't go on a long diatribe about it, but it was disappointing. And she did it in a way that was insulting. I just have to say it was insulting. So I really want us to expect us to be in media and to not chafe when one of us is critical about something an elected official does or someone running for office. It's not personal, unless, of course, it's based on something that happened of personal nature, different story. But criticisms of policy, of direction, like I criticized Loren about his, should be expected when you're running for office. But you shouldn't have this situation where you're giving someone white a pass for doing it, and yet you don't want to talk to him because he's critical of me, even if its criticism is even-handed. Such is the nature of being a person running for office, and that's what all of you are. That's it. And it is my job to criticize in a constructive way, not an unconstructive way. If I've ever criticized in a way that's not constructive, please let me know. But I've been pretty good about keeping score. I haven't. And we as media, Black media, have to collaborate. Instead, on a national scale, we have Byron Allen out doing his thing. Roland Martin out doing his thing, Blavity out doing their thing, and then we have a situation where I saw an article about the state of black-owned media, but it was in Variety, which is white-owned, and behind a paywall. So, hey, look, you as a black person wants to read about black-owned media and 3 black entrepreneurs, but you're reading it, but you're having to pay a paywall, go through a paywall, pay money to a white-owned organization to find out about black media. That's weird. And I'm asking the question, how come this same conversation could have been on one of the platforms of these guys? Okay? We're not sharing knowledge. And when people have gotten together, like remember Morgan DeBaum, Blavity, she would have these sessions. You pay her for just managerial advice or something. That's not a good thing. You should share your advice with others without asking them to pay you, because the advice that she's sharing that she wants to get paid for can be freely obtained around the internet alone. She's not doing that currently, to my knowledge, but she did that when she first got started, when I was first on it. And I thought, wow, this doesn't feel right. Because I've been to tech event after tech event after tech event after tech event, going back to 2005, before that, and people freely exchanging advice and information, doing so through groups, online and off, and yet I have to pay her? Black folks should not do that. And then, where's the Black Hackathon? Where are the black programmers, right? How come when we have a tech event, it's got to be focused on music and partying and gathering and not tech? Tech, okay? Tech. That's what I've seen nationally. In Oakland, when I started out, way back in '93, I was with a Montclarian. Then I started Oakland's first blog, and everything went from there, and Oakland's first YouTube partner channel. And everything went from there. And I've been the lone black person most of the time, unfortunately. And when someone has jumped in, they didn't contact me and say, hey, look, Zenny, I just want to pick your brain. That's happened a few times, but not with somebody black, okay? And I'm happy to share. So you're saying, why am I talking in a stilted way? Because I'm speaking through, but I'm also thinking about ways I can change this as I'm listening to myself talk to you. But I'm also thinking about ways that I can help, and I'm putting together this list, what I can do, right? As I go along here, because it's a crisis. A person should never feel that they can't tell their own story, or that you need someone who doesn't look like you to tell that story, as opposed to seeking someone who does look like you to tell it. I'm not trying to be segregationist either, because look, there are plenty of people who are not black who are very good at interviewing and chronicling, and I invite them to come to Zenny 62 Media and work with us, right? But what I'm talking about is what I see as a habit among us who are black. And it wasn't always this way in Oakland. But I think it reflects, it's a function of a declining population, of costs so high that when people are able to move, they moved, and also the pandemic, which has forced a dramatic population change. So, and then it's also, frankly speaking, it's born of situations like when I was consultant to the Oakland Post. I felt like I love Paul Cobb, but I also feel like Paul, in that situation, um, put me in a situation where I shouldn't be competing to run an organization I didn't run. I was brought in to improve the search engine position of the site. I did that. I got them on Google News, and they were there for quite a time. And I made changes to the website. But then someone else came in who actually ironically did a project for me years earlier and did it well. But for some particular reason, this version of that person decided that I was some sort of threat and wanted to let me know that they intended to own the Oakland Post. And I thought, oh, brother. So you know what I did in a fit of pick? Because the environment was too contentious, unnecessarily so. And I would tell Paul that, hey, this is not necessary. You know, getting calls at 3 a.m, 6 a.m, all that sort of thing. So I quite literally cut the contract. I quit. And I built OaklandNewsNowBlog.com, originally called OaklandNewsNow.com. And I discovered a really unique way of being able to move news out of the way that I think Google didn't like. But hey, it worked. Made money too. Learned a great deal from that. Still learning. But I did it because I got tired of being in a situation where I knew I had the answer. I was called on to fix a problem. I did. And yet I felt that it wasn't appreciated. And I thought, you know what? The only way that I'm going to teach people what I'm capable of is to build something that becomes a threat to what that person built. And that was the raison d'etre for me building the Oakland News Now platform. I wanted to have a Black-owned, credible threat to the Oakland Post that could then be seen as an ally. So I immediately turned around and said, hey, Paul, come on my show. I had a little banner area for him, promoting him from my perspective, from my place, right? From a position of power. All right? And that's where I've sat. And continue to. There aren't a lot of people running around like me who do that if they're Black, right? And we should be. It wasn't my intention to compete directly with the Oakland Post because Paul has unique relationship with the clergy that I couldn't replicate in years. And I think to even try to be insulting to him, and I'm not trying to do that. Never was. I simply didn't like the way I was treated. And I did it in a zinny way. I created a new environment to change the equation. I created my own platform, and I took Zinni 62 Media and I turned it into a Delaware corporation to say, hey, look, this is how a media company should be built and ran as a tech company. I made a statement. Thank you, Paul Cobb. So, but the way their counter was, okay, well, I can see this, right? Well, Zinni is right wing or something like that. You know, anything to deal with the fact that they couldn't understand my way of thinking, which is pointless and data driven and deliberately intellectual. I always look for an angle that others haven't considered. I think Cat Brooks once called me contrarian. So be it. So be it. But I don't like going with the status quo because we'll look at the conditions that status quo was created, right? Why bother? Why bother? Hope you're well, Kat. At any rate, we have to do better as a people. And my theory, and it really is based on how I handled the Oakland Post situation, we're stronger when we're building. And we're stronger when we're building together. I'm proud to say that I've had a number of great vloggers, a mix African Americans like Don Richardson and Latinos like the late Joseph Armendariz, who passed away February 28th. Richard Hake, first fan who started vlogging, and he did it well. He's got the Zennia 62 Media live stream style down, all right? Sure does. And I'm looking to expand and grow and really need investors, especially investors and sponsors for the NFL draft coverage we have coming up here. So check out Zennia62media.com for more information on that. But Loren and Barbara need to do better by Black media. They need to call for a stronger Black media. They need to be involved with Black media, which includes, interviewing me, interviewing Chuck, or whether or not interviewing, being interviewed by, getting your message out. I mean, don't wait. And I've reached out, but don't wait for us to reach out. You know who we're out there. That's really cruel to do that, Barbara and Loren. It really is, It's like, I've got my posse and I got my thing. Okay, well, I decided, you know what? Hey, you're going to play it that way? Fine. I'm going to let you know that your behavior is not right, because it's not. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Keep on keeping on. Just keep on keeping on the right way, and God bless you on this great Sunday. See ya. And subscribe to the Vlog Report with Zennia62 and bookmark oaklandnewsonline.com.